Hey guys, Mustang here bringing you another Dragon Ball Z Dokkan battle video, and today we're going to be looking at the AGL Cooler from the barbershop, fully EZA'd. This guy is another one of the units that you will need for the LR Prime Battle Super Saiyan Goku's Extreme Z area when that finally comes out, so make sure you get this guy farmed up and awakened. All the events do become available once that Extreme Z area comes out, but obviously some of the units require quite a bit of work, so it's a good idea to have these done and ready to go. So if we have a look at what he does here, he's all types key +2, HP, attack and defense 50%, leader skill, pretty mid, never going to really use him I guess unless maybe you're free to play, and then depending on, because of the categories that he's on, you could potentially make free to play versions of those teams and use him as the leader. His super attack, he infinitely stacks defense now after his EZA, which is good for the long form events, does supreme damage and lowers the enemy's defense. And then his passive, he gets attack and defense 100%, which is pretty solid. And then he gets attacks effective against all types, gives all allies key +2, and reduces enemies attack and defense by 20% when there is a Goku family category enemy. So all three of those things, only when there is a Goku family category enemy. And then he also has the ability to launch an additional attack that has a medium chance of becoming a super attack. So if you get the best possible RNG, you can get 3 super attacks in one turn, because you can get an extra one from his passive and an extra one from his hidden potential. So as you can see, I've given him a little bit more additional than crit, and of course he has the 3 dodge. I haven't leveled up his links at all. This is just from using him in the Extreme Z area. And then yeah, he's typical cooler categories: movie bosses, transformation boost, wicked bloodline, terrifying conquerors, and target Goku. So we are running him on what is essentially a wicked bloodline team. As you can see, we are using AGL Metal Cooler as our leader, who is technically still the only official wicked bloodline category leader for like the full level boost, not a free to play unit. And this is where one of the biggest issues with this AGL Cooler comes into play, is that he shares the same name as this cooler. So whilst this guy is Transformation Boost or Terrifying Conquerors, nowadays most people use him as a Wicked Bloodline leader, because I think every single Wicked Bloodline unit that's even really worth using in like the harder events is on one of those 2 categories, and Cooler is one of the best TURs in the game. So unfortunately, whereas compared to this in Frieza, who we have brought as well because he is a support unit when fighting Goku family enemies, he's a unit that you're probably not going to run a huge amount, because STR Cooler is so much better than the AGL Metal Cooler. In a way, it like hurts your team overall to bring this guy instead of the STR one. Now obviously, if you're free to play or have just been unlucky with summons, you might not have the STR one, whereas this guy is from the barbershop. And then of course Metal Cooler has been on a lot more banners. So let's go ahead and we'll start off here. We have, I think Metal Cooler is his best link partner, which is 4 out of the 6 links activated. What is our defense on turn 1? 84,000 without any support. Bear in mind, of course, he is going to raise that on this first super attack. So he should be able to tank reasonably well from Bardock. Bardock's obviously having his attack lowered by the Cooler's passive, and then Metal Cooler here does lower attack on super as well. So yeah, we're not going to take a lot of damage here. Metal Cooler does heal at the end of the turn if you take damage as well. So we should be all good. We get the 2 extra additionals, but unfortunately neither of them were super attacks. And then yeah, he's able to tank to double digits thanks to the combination of the attack lowering and raising defense on his super attack. So I did decide to bring this AGL Final Form Cooler. He is a unit that I finally got to Rainbow. I've had him at 90% for ages. And then off of this most recent World Tournament ticket banner, I finally got the last copy for him. He is probably the biggest liability on the team. His defense is not very good. He's a very old unit. Like we've seen a lot of the World Tournament units that have gotten awakenings in the last maybe year or so have really, really strong awakenings. But unfortunately, this guy's one of the older batch of units who awakened a long time ago. And so he's not particularly great. The only reason we've brought him on this team is because he provides a 40% attack and defensive boost to AGL units. So for this particular build and for this particular showcase, he is actually the best support unit on the Wicked Bloodline category for this cooler. So what is his defense now? 123,000 after the one super attack and then the support. We're getting 25% attack and defense from the GT Freezer in slot 3 here. So let's go ahead and do this. I mean, we've already seen him take double-digit damage from the normal attacks, so there's going to be no change there. He's got just under a 1.5 million attack stat. Not terrible for a free-to-play unit, but not crazy high. But then, of course, he is very much like the Ink Freezer that we showcased yesterday, in the sense that he is kind of designed to be more defensive. Obviously, he infinitely stacks defense with his super. He lowers the enemy's attack with part of his passive, so in events where that can actually be used, that just adds to his defensive capability. So I would say his real ideal spot, if you're trying to think to yourself, like, where would you actually use this guy? He's probably going to be the kind of unit that you bring in a long form event if you don't have STR Cooler. I feel like that's pretty much the main slot for him, because STR Cooler, even when he transforms, now in harder events, once you get towards the end of the event, STR Cooler transformed, his attack stat's going to be insanely high, but he will take a lot of damage from, especially from super attacks, once you start getting into the last like 2 or 3 fights of an Infinite Dragon Ball history run. Whereas that AGL Cooler, he's not going to be putting out a lot of damage, but once you get nearer to the end of one of these kind of events, he's just not really going to be taking any damage either. So if you're free to play, maybe you don't have the STR Cooler at all, or you just want to put together a team that is a little bit more tanky in order to finish off one of the events. But obviously one of the missions for the Broly movie, Infinite Dragon Ball History Story stage, requires you to complete the event with 3 movie bosses units on the team. So depending obviously what you have available to you in your box, this guy would make a good addition because of the fact that he infinitely stacks, so you don't have to worry about getting super close to the end and then getting killed. Because I remember when I was recording the very first attempt at running that stage, you get to Blue Gogeta at the end, who is AGL, and if he super attacks STR Cooler, that's just basically instant death. So, whereas this guy, by the time you get there, his defense is going to be high enough that he's not just going to be instantly taken out. But you see here, we're at Goku, who is the hardest enemy in the run. He does also have type advantage over all our AGL units, but we saw there, Metal Cooler took a fair bit from the normal attacks, but the AGL Cooler defense nice and high, able to take double-digit damage from the normal attacks. So that is obviously very, very good. We'll go ahead and heal up and get a bit of extra damage reduction here with the Freezer in slot 1 and then GT Freezer in slot 3. We shouldn't have to worry about really taking any damage this turn. So alright, so Golden Freezer. Yeah, decent. Million damage. I mean, obviously, we're kind of expecting him to not take damage. We were on low enough HP that he wouldn't have his full damage mitigation passive active, but he still has some damage mitigation, and when you add a damage mitigation item on top of that, those kind of units just will not take a lot of damage. STR Cooler coming in clutch with the additional super as well. Let's go. Beat down Goku. I never get sick and tired of seeing his super attack animation. STR Cooler definitely still one of my favourite units in the game. He is one of the units that I first got to level 10 links after doing the Ginyu Force, of course. So yeah, for me, STR Cooler is Rainbow level 10 links, which unfortunately, as we started talking about at the very beginning of the video, it just puts me even more in that position that unfortunately I'm probably never going to run this guy, because why would I run him over a Rainbow level 10 links STR Cooler? But we're up to 200k defense on him now, which is really good. Super attack will potentially still do a bit of damage because of type disadvantage, but he shouldn't really take any damage in the first slot here now. And yeah, obviously his attack stat not really changing throughout the showcase because he doesn't stack attack in any way. Hey, and we get the additional super. There you go. So almost the God RNG. We got the 3 attacks, and 2 of them were supers. So that finishes off Goku. That makes the rest of the run a whole lot easier. So let's go ahead and do this. They must share a ton of links, right? Wow, no. Okay. What about these guys? Oh no, this is even worse. Alright, so do this. Do this. Hopefully AGL Cooler doesn't get us killed in the final slot. We got enough HP and Cooler in the middle has type advantage, so we should be okay, even if Gohan saves his super attack for the AGL Cooler at the back. Hopefully he super attacks STR Cooler here now, since he didn't super attack Golden Frieza. But obviously Cooler here just going to dish out an absolute ton of damage, 3 million damage, additional normal that does over a mil. Hey, there we go. I was a little bit worried about AGL Cooler getting hit by that, because if he's doing 70k to STR Cooler, even though he has type advantage, this AGL one here in the back would get absolutely rocked. I imagine he's probably still going to take somewhere close to 70k just from the normal attacks, which is the reason why I don't really see him getting used on teams anymore. Yeah, 76, okay, whew, chill. So now we're getting the transformation with the Metal Cooler core. I guess this is yet another reason why overall the team is kind of hurt by the bringing AGL Cooler over the STR one. It means we have to run Metal Cooler as the leader, and so then when we get into a situation where our HP drops below 50%, we get the transformation into the Metal Cooler core. Now, these kind of transformations, I'm in 2 minds about them in certain modes, right? So in Super Battle Road, for example, then it's super useful to get the Giant transformation, because it gives you usually 2 turns, maybe 3, where you don't take any damage, and as long as you can actually get super attacks, you just get to dish out a bunch of free damage and potentially take out one of your attackers, which is 1 less unit that can super attack you. In a mode like this, where like if this was actually our first run, we were trying to get it completed to get all the rewards or whatever, we want to complete it as quickly as possible. The rotation of the AGL Cooler and Metal Cooler together potentially deals out more damage overall than the Giant form turn. But, I mean, we get a bunch of free damage, we can't really complain. We took out Gohan, and now we get back to our Cooler rotation here. So, I don't want to use an item because it gives us the extra damage mitigation. But, I mean, we've seen throughout the showcase, he's at 260,000 defense now. So, I mean, he's just not going to take damage from normal attacks. And we're going to get the Dokkan attack here. Should we risk it for the biscuit? I mean, we die if we get super attacked on pretty much anyone other than the Cooler in slot 1. So it's probably not worth it. I'm going to go ahead and do this. Why not? Because the Dokkan attack is going to give us the heal, right? So we don't need to necessarily heal ourselves with the Princess Snake. So we'll go ahead and use an Icarus. This basically guarantees that we don't take really any damage from normal attacks this turn. And then I would say the weakest link is probably the GT Frieza. So even if he gets super attacked, with the Icarus active we should survive. Because GT Frieza, he doesn't have very high natural defense, but he does have a bit of damage reduction built into his passive. So he should be okay. But pretty decent attack stat on, should I say attack stat? Pretty decent damage from the Dokkan attack. Obviously, Cooler had a consistent attack stat throughout the showcase because he has no real way to raise that attack. But yeah, he's put in a pretty solid performance. He's one of the strongest defensive units in the team thanks to that build-up. But, like I said, the biggest problem just comes from the fact that to run him on this team, you have to run Metal Cooler as the leader. I was going to put together a target Goku team instead to try and show him off, but the team was very AGL heavy, and then of course you still want to try and bring a lot of the Frieza race units just so you can actually get his links and everything to activate. So it just kind of ended up becoming a target Goku team that was mostly Wicked Bloodline units. So, but we should finish off Go 10 and then we'll end out the showcase on the next turn. We'll see what defense we manage to get our Cooler up to. I imagine we'll be getting fairly close towards 300k. We would probably very easily be able to actually hit 300k by the end of this run, but don't want the video to be too long. We've kind of seen everything we really need to see from the AGL Cooler. My final thoughts on him would be that whilst he is a pretty solid unit, overall he very much is hurt by having the same name as the STR Cooler. I just don't see a ton of situations where you would want to use this guy over the other one. So we're up to 300k defense. Okay, so let's put him in the middle, because then we get Cold Judgment activated from this final form Cooler at the end. So we'll go ahead and do this. AGL Cooler might get rocked at the end there, but we'll play out this final turn. Let me know what you guys think down below of the AGL final form Cooler. Will you be using him? I think really he is only going to be used by a lot of people for that EZA, but make sure you have him farmed up already. Save yourself some time later on. And yeah, 1.56 being his highest attack stat. And we get the addition. We got an additional normal that the game decided to skip, but we got the additional super as well. So his defense is going to be crazy high here. And there we go, perfect. We took the super, no items active, 54 damage. So let me know what you think of Cooler down below. Would you actually ever use him? Unfortunately, like I say, as an STR Cooler owner, I don't think I will ever use him outside of these showcases, but let me know what you guys think down below. So that is going to be it for the video, guys. This has been the Masked Ningen. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new. Check out the link to my Discord in the description below and join in the fun down there. And I will see you all again soon. Have a good one.